as it turned out, he was upholding the law, cause the International Court of Justice and Australia's Federal Court subsequently ruled that our whaling was illegal and told us to gitfo. So did we go to jail for acting illegally? Of course not, silly. Instead, we're trying to jail the fucking legend who stopped us from breaking the law. Sure, that might seem unjust, but we've seen other governments prosecuting fucking legends lately, like these ones in Tasmania and these ones in Cambodia. So we thought Japan should have a go at it too. We'd like to thank the Danish government for arresting the fucking legend in Greenland, which is great timing since he was on his way to intercept our new whale killing machine on its maiden voyage to hunt vulnerable fin whales. Tuk tuk, Denmark. You can extradite him to Japan now. Don't worry, we only routinely violate our prisoners' human rights, so thanks to our 99.9% conviction rate, he'll definitely die in jail. We also want to thank our taxpayers for subsidizing the dying whale industry, literally, even though few of you eat whale, which is why we have to hire influencers to hawk it to you, all to keep our mates in business at this joint. One of our favorite sources of amakodari positions for retiring officials. I mean, sure, whales are the foundation of an actual industry, whale watching, which generates vast income for communities worldwide, and sure, their feces help feed the phytoplankton that sustains all marine life and produces half the planet's oxygen supply, and sure, there are allies by capturing carbon and storing it for centuries when they die naturally and fall to the sea floor, unlike our carbon capture and storage projects which capture fuck all. But why invest in all that when we can kill whales and stick them in a fucking vending machine? And shut the fuck up, Europe. Norway kills more whales than us. What about Iceland's whale fuckery? Or the Faroe Islands and their colourful whale murder festival? Whatever you do, just don't all come together to defend this fucking legend. Or put pressure on us here at the Danish government to release him by protesting outside our embassies. Or put pressure on us here at the Australian government to defend the guy who once helped us uphold the law in Antarctica. But most importantly, don't go straight to this website which shows how to take these actions right now to free Paul Watson, as that would send out a clear message to all governments to keep our hands off all the planet's warriors, defenders of the wild, and fucking legends out there. This has been a message from your local government franchise. Goodbye.
Authorized by the Department for not understanding that if the ocean dies, we all die.
Hello, I'm from your local government.
Yeah, that was good. Very good. Oh dear,
This is a message from the US government. No, not the fake commie pet-eating government. The one that actually won in 2020. And now, after winning 2 elections and all of his own golf tournaments, President Trump is running for a 3rd term. So suck shit, childless cat ladies. Trump 24. During his 2nd term in office, President Trump has been working tirelessly from the Orange House, blocking border security legislation, praising dictators, praising billionaires for firing workers, dissing our military, and flying around in the pedo jet. But most importantly, tackling the greatest threat of all at the coming election: voter fraud. Sure, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud in our elections, as countless officials, security agencies, courts, reports, even our own report, even our buddies, even the conservative Supreme Court stacked with Trump appointees have repeatedly stated. Heck, even we don't believe our bullshit about voter fraud. But we desperately need enough of you to believe it, so that you'll help us stop the steal at the coming election. Cause you see, we know we can't win elections the old-fashioned way. You know, by getting the most votes. We haven't won the popular vote in 2 decades, so we need your help to stop people voting against us. That's why we recruited thousands of our fraud-pilled minions to launch mass challenges of voter registration via our app, which is purging unknown numbers of legitimate voters from our voter rolls. Screw the vote! And it's why we've also introduced a raft of new vote suppression laws, like this, this and this. Also this. Lots of this. And a shit ton of these. Which we say are to stop voter fraud, but actually just stop people who tend to vote against us. I mean, illegally. And here we have to thank our friends at SCOTUS for eviscerating the Voting Rights Act, which is what enabled all these vote suppression laws. SCOTUS! But that's just the tip of the shitberg. Fear of non-existent voter fraud is also at the heart of our brand new plan to grab this election by the pussy on Election Day. Introducing our precinct strategy. Overseen by the supreme shitlord of the megasphere, the precinct strategy entails signing up our fraud-pilled army to be poll workers at the local precinct level, where votes are counted.
We're taking this back village by village, precinct by precinct, and they can't stop it.
Yup. The guy who committed actual fraud against thousands of our supporters has recruited thousands of our supporters to find imaginary fraud. And on Election Day, they'll be out challenging voters.
You gotta contest every ballot.
And reporting the fraud to our hotline of lawyers, who'll then use the evidence to launch a barrage of lawsuits in precincts across the nation, creating the impression of widespread voter fraud. Which brings us to the final part of our plan, which we like to call total fucking chaos. Total fucking chaos is the goal, as that will allow officials to declare a perfectly normal election rigged. It didn't work last time due to uncooperative officials, but this time we'll be the officials, as we've also taken over election boards.
We're taking over all the elections.
Suck on this. Our friends at SCOTUS can then step in to decide the election outcome like they did in 2000, or throw the decision to a congressional vote. Either way, Il Duce wins a third term. And if that doesn't work, fuck it, it's Civil War time. The only thing that can stop all this is if enough of you are ready for the total fucking chaos and can keep calm until all the votes are legally counted. So don't share this video with everyone you know, and don't go to this website to check that we haven't purged you from the voter roll, or this website, which lists all the new laws we've passed to make it harder to vote. All the links are in the video description. Do not click them. 'Cause remember, America, our elections are deeply unfair because of this. And this. And 'cause of this shitty voting system that enshrines a two-party duopoly, but not due to voter fraud. That's just something we made up to exploit your legitimate desire for fair elections to help us rat fuck this one. Trump 24. Now get to work, patriots. This election isn't gonna steal itself, you pieces of shit. Authorized by the Department for the Prevention of Pet Eating and Transgender Operations on Illegal Aliens in Prisons.
Yeah, that kind of summed it up pretty well, didn't it? Pretty much everything that was done, how it was done, why it was done. Sometimes you just wish some of these people would just stop and think about what it really means to do what they're doing. But the problem isn't the left. The problem is the liberals centre that thinks it's the left, and the lunatic right that says we think you're the left too, so you're the ones we're going to come after. Meanwhile, on the left, people are doing praxis, social engineering, helping people eat, find food, find shelter, get access to electricity, get access to all sorts of other things. I am very much from that side of the left. Like the left TM that Kamala is on is basically terrible. They're not the left. They're right wing, centre right, if at best. even if they might espouse an occasional note of caution around some social issues. But the social issues they just use for fundraising so that they can get into power and help their capitalist sponsors. I mean, there is a left here in Australia, and honestly, I think there's a left in the United States. But the left in the United States is part of the 25% of people who can't be showing up to vote for either party because both of them are too far to the Hitler-Jugend right. And then there's the other 25% that just can't be fucked because you guys don't have compulsory voting laws. In Australia, we have compulsory voting, which means everyone has to turn up at least. Don't have to actually fill in your ballot. You can spoil your ballot, but you at least have to put it in the box. In Australia, we get pretty strong mandates. Yeah, vastly outnumbered, but I think honestly a lot of that is just the lack of critical thinking in your education system. You know, the US isn't really interested in teaching people how to be critical thinkers. They want people to follow where the advertisers are trying to push them. They want them to follow where the politicians want to lead, etc., etc., etc. Meantime, the centre left or the centre right, the left TM, just sit around on their asses saying, "Oh well, you know, we just want people to be nice and I'm sure there's a ratchet, but you know, it's never the right time to pass legislation that would actually help people." Shits me. And Australia's gone the same way. Our Labor Party leader has actually congratulated Donald Trump quite enthusiastically for his win. By this I mean our Prime Minister. And being quite effusive in his praise. Why? Because he's a fucking fascist. And somewhat unashamedly so. Anyway.
Visit Myanmar, home to natural wonders, ancient culture, friendly people, and of course, fascist fuckpigs and war criminals. Myanmar. Hello, I am from the military. I mean, government of Myanmar, where we didn't like how people voted in our last election. So on the morning our elected MPs were to be sworn in, just as this fitness instructor was live streaming a kick-ass cardio routine, we launched a coup and arrested them. The people protested peacefully with slogans and sarongs, so of course we responded with bullets, shooting teenagers in the head, mass arrests, rape, torture, and airstrike, killing thousands and displacing millions. Visit Myanmar. Our short man with mommy issues then appointed himself Prime Minister, President, Chairman, and awarded himself the most glorious Order of Truth. And if that sounds like he's in desperate need of validation, that's cause he is. And everyone in Myanmar thinks he's a motherfucker. That's why the people have taken up arms to defend themselves, forming a resistance movement which now controls most of the country, while elected MPs have formed the National Unity Government, the actual government of Myanmar. But don't worry, cause not only do we have decades of experience in killing our people, including a genocide against the Rohingya, we also have a shit ton of weapons and cash, thanks to our friends.
Hello, I'm from the Russian government. where we give zero fucks about sanctions on the junta. So we sell them fighter jets to launch indiscriminate airstrikes on villages, like this one which killed hundreds, including 40 children. Here at the Chinese government, we have a shit ton of major investments in Myanmar. And to protect them, we're helping the junta hold sham elections and arming their air force via our state-owned company, Avic, proud partner of Airbus. Welcome to Airbus, where nothing says pioneering a safe and united world like doing business with folks who help war criminals bomb schools, health clinics and concerts. Here at the Indian government, the chosen one also sells the junta military equipment, while his best friend built this Madarchad a new port. Here at the government of Japan, we help the junta build railways used to transport weapons. And here at the government of Singapore, we still let sanctioned tycoons like this Bangsat kick it up in multi-million-dollar villas.
We're grateful to all the governments propping up our brutal junta, but above all, we're grateful to ASEAN for giving us legitimacy.
Hello, I'm from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, where we legitimize the junta by inviting them to represent Myanmar at hundreds of ASEAN meetings on trade, energy, tourism, security. We even let the guy who led airstrikes on schools and hospitals host our Air Force conference. And we do enjoy the irony of letting a junta that's raped and murdered hundreds of women and children host our Women and Children's Protection Committee, ASEAN. Meanwhile, Myanmar's actual government says we should be pushing our members to impose sanctions and cut off the junta's supply of jet fuel. You know, the thing sustaining their aerial terror campaign. Are we doing that? Of course not, silly. That wouldn't be good for business for ASEAN members like us here at the Thai government, where we earn billions from mining Myanmar's gas. Even these bungstains cut their ties with Myanmar after the coup, but not us. We expanded our investments there, like us here at the Indonesian government, where we know what it's like to have a war criminal as president. So in solidarity, we let our mates sign some sweet business deals with this one. And here at the government of Vietnam, our telco provides the junta with data and tech, as well as millions in revenue from Mytel subscribers, since the military is also a shareholder. Armitel. It's all part of our 5-point consensus for dealing with the crisis in Myanmar.
Is it working?
Absolutely. That's why the UN, US, EU and all these guys say ASEAN should keep leading the way.
Which works for everyone.
They get to avoid taking meaningful action. We get to keep pretending to solve the crisis whilst profiting from it.
We get to keep plundering and terrorizing Myanmar,
while the people of Myanmar are left to fight a ruthless army with homemade weapons and civil disobedience.
The government of Myanmar thanks ASEAN and all our friends for helping us to fuck our people and democracy. Now hurry up and send us more jet fuel, you pieces of shit. Visit Myanmar. Authorized by the Department for Democratic Resistance Against Fascists and Short Men with Mommy Issues. အရေးတော်ပုံအောင်ရမည်
If you are not familiar with Juice Media, there's their webpage, their YouTube channel. It's magnificent stuff. There will only be accountability if capitalism goes away. The only way capitalism goes away is it gets replaced by something better. You'll hear a lot of anarchists talk about stuff like dual power structures, and dual power structures. Basically, the idea that
Visit Myanmar.
Basically, the idea that you can. Oops, wrong one. Oops. Basically, the idea that you can do community-based activities to fulfill the functions that government is failing to deliver. And if enough of the functions of government are being delivered by community organisations, and by that I don't mean charities, I mean actual community organisations, like people in a neighbourhood looking after each other, people doing things like Food Not Bombs. I mean, Food Not Bombs is a charity, right? But there is a big difference between something like a kind of guerrilla organization like Food Not Bombs that has charitable status and does work to prevent food insecurity, and an organization like the St. Vincent de Paul Society, which is the Catholic charity that does most of the sort of humanitarian aid in Australia. And the Vinnies, as we call them here, are involved in work for the dole programs. They're involved in all sorts of fuckery, which industrializes charity as a replacement for government. And I'm not here for it, quite frankly. Likewise, the Uniting Church, they're not as bad as the Vinnies because the Catholics are kind of slightly more heinous than the Uniting Church, which is actually relatively mild compared with some of the other bullshit out there in terms of Christian churches. They do tend to focus more on the figure of Christ than on the Old Testament. They focus more on the good acts and the charitable acts and that sort of thing, which is cool. Credit where it's due. But honestly, I do not like. Am I losing frames? Not many. Okay. Sorry, I'm just seeing my network bandwidth a little compromised at the moment in OBS. Yeah, so mutual aid definitely helps. Sometimes you've got to trust that throwing some money at someone who really needs it can maybe be in a position to help you one day. And I know that's kind of hard. We're kind of raised not to believe that in a lot of ways. So rules for radicals. Strongly recommend that as a starting point if you're wanting to know more about how to be an effective organizer, how to be more tactical and strategic in how you organize, what sort of things you tackle. Ruth Kinner's Government No One. Government of No One is another good book that I would recommend people read. It gives people an idea of kind of some of the basic thoughts about my political beliefs, which is basically anarchism. I know a lot of people look at anarchists and think we're a bit weird because there's also other people who claim to be anarchists but are not, particularly anarcho-capitalists who are very much not anarchists. They literally stole the concept of libertarianism and that label from us. They appropriated it and made it their own. But anarchism starts with a critique of methodology and then links that with a feedback system. So there's a continuous critique of, are we actually delivering this without delivering services without coercion? Are we delivering food and shelter and these sorts of things without denying other people the same things? Are we giving people access to what they need? And if the methods don't deliver the right outcomes, and if they cause harm along the way, then anarchists will adjust. Whereas people more on the ML path, or the Maoist path will generally take a more authoritarian approach where they don't really care who gets hurt. It's about compliance first, and then discipline first, and then compliance with praxis. Whereas anarchists are praxis first, 100% all the time. As such, a lot of us aren't huge theory heads. Like I haven't finished either of those books, but I've read enough of them to get the broad gist of it. But organizing your community, wherever you find community, get people together, try and build communities of solidarity, of praxis, that sort of thing, and mutual aid, and check in on each other, look after each other. That's the basic message. And if you can get to the point where that's working well enough, then other people will start opting out of capitalism. That's the point. That's the whole point of dual power. Is it's not about, okay, we're going to build a new power base. No, we're going to build a new service base, a new methodology for provision of goods and services, a whole new economic model. And if we can do that, then it's up to other people to opt into it. But if they do opt in, then they're welcome and they can contribute as they will, and everything's good. The other left-wing strategies tend to be a bit more, okay, we're going to do this big revolution, we're going to take power, seize control, and that's the term that gets problematic, is control, because you can't just control people. You've got to work with them if you want your government to be sustainable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think anarchism is the only one that will end up working in the end, because it's opt-in, not opt-out. It's not a revolution. It's not a coercive approach. It's a build it and they will come approach. And if they don't come, then they don't get to enjoy the benefits. But that's more for the people who do opt in to community organizing and opt out of capitalism and all of its bullshit.